Today we're breaking down Shrek, an animated comedy about an ogre who has outcasted himself from society, a donkey who just needs a friend, and a woman who just needs a kiss from her true love. The opening image of Shrek is Shrek reading a fairy tale about a princess trapped in a castle with a curse that can only be saved by true love's kiss. This sets up Shrek as a fun comedic take on the past thousands of years of fairy tales. Hey now, it's time for the setup. Within the opening sequence, we see Shrek as a very solitude character, somebody who enjoys his peace and quiet, as well as his alone time, which I don't blame him. Towards the end of the opening credits, we see a group of villagers go to hunt Shrek for a reward put on all fairy tale creatures by Lord Farquaad of Duloc. This bounty also acts as the inciting incident within Shrek, as Lord Farquaad's armies go and collect all the fairy tale creatures and relocate them in Shrek's swamp.
Who knows where this Farquaad guy is? Oh, I do. I know where he is.
Shrek then seeks a guide to Duloc. The only one able to do so is Donkey, a loyal, stubborn, and very talkative comedic relief alongside Shrek during his journey. Following this, our antagonist, Lord Farquaad, is formally introduced in a short sequence where he's torturing Gingy the gingerbread man, and he reveals his true intentions of trying to find a princess to marry in order to become a king.
And here they are!
This shows Lord Farquaad as a low-confidence and sadistic ruler, where rather than accepting himself for who he is, he'd hurt others and compensate greatly, whether that be for the fact that he's not a king yet, or that he's short.
Do you think maybe he's compensating for something?
This brings us into the story's catalyst, the point of no return, where Shrek goes to Duloc. He defeats all the champions who are fighting for the honor.
No, the privilege to go forth and rescue the lovely Princess Fiona.
After defeating all the champions, Shrek and Donkey find themselves under threat from Lord Farquaad, where if they go and do this mission for him and rescue Fiona, they will get the deed back to Shrek's swamp.
Go on this quest for me, and I'll give you your swamp back.
As we break into Act 2, we're shown a bit more about the B story of Shrek, getting to know somebody before making your judgments. Shrek and Donkey have a talk about Shrek being only seen as a monster, therefore he's felt the need to exile himself from society. Through the rising action, Shrek and Donkey then find themselves on their way. Shrek and Donkey get to the castle, confront the dragon, and make their way to the highest room in the tallest tower to save Princess Fiona. And after an epic chase, it brings us to our midpoint. Shrek and Donkey believe they finished the hardest part of their journey, whereas Shrek will soon realize that the barriers he's put up around himself and his poor self-image will be the biggest obstacle he has to overcome. Through the midpoint, we first learn of Fiona's need for her one true love to be her rescuer. We also first see her disdain for the circumstances under which she was rescued. Through the rest of the second act, we see the true nature of Fiona's curse, and we begin to see Shrek and Fiona's relationship blossom. As Shrek and Fiona begin to get to know each other, Shrek grows quite fond of Princess Fiona, until he overhears Fiona and Donkey talking about the effects of Fiona's curse, by day one way, by night another. Due to his poor self-esteem, Shrek assumes that the unlovable monster that Fiona is referring to is himself rather than her, without knowing anything about her curse. In this all-is-lost moment, Shrek goes to Lord Farquaad to bring him to Fiona, and trade her in for the deed to his swamp. Fiona feels betrayed as she was ready to open up about the effects of her curse.
I tell him.
This leads us into the dark night of the soul moment of the film, where Shrek, Donkey, and Fiona are all at their lowest, and they split up despite how close they've become throughout their journeys.
Shrek.
As we break into the third act, Donkey uses his stubbornness to show Shrek how much people care about him and how much people are willing to put up with and still remain by his side.
Because that's what friends do! They forgive each other!
He then goes on to explain to Shrek how what he overheard was a big misunderstanding, and that Fiona was talking about herself, leading into the story's climax. With this newfound knowledge, Shrek and Donkey head into Duloc to stop the wedding at the very last moment, with Shrek confessing his love for Fiona. At this point in the climax, Shrek has put any self-confidence issues aside, and he's learned to get to know one another before making any judgments on people's character. In the denouement and final images of Shrek, it shows Shrek and Fiona having a wedding in Shrek's swamp, filled with all the other fairy tale creatures, showing change from who he was in the beginning to who he is at the end, surrounded by friends rather than pushing them away. What makes Shrek such an incredible character is he's introduced in the first few seconds of the film as a funny and relatable character who just wants his alone time. On the other side of things, Shrek also has self-confidence issues. He pushes others away as he feels he's not good enough for them. He sees himself as a monster, so he tries to act like one. Shrek's solitude is put into jeopardy, setting up his inner motivation to get the deed to his land and reclaim it under any means necessary, and overcoming any of the external conflicts along the way, such as the dragon or Robin Hood. Throughout the film, Shrek sees himself as less than worthy of love or friendship. Towards the end of the film, he goes from keeping himself exiled to having a full-on party and wedding within his own property. What makes Shrek such an impactful film is it's a modern-day caricature on self-image issues and how it can lead to ignorance, and how some of the characters, after bonding together, could overcome their issues, and others paid an ultimate price. It truly shows that you just have to be able to believe in yourself, believe in your friends, and trust that your friends believe in you. So let me ask you this. Are you a believer? Also, Donkey fuck the dragon. Like, that happened, they made Dronkies, but that's going to be a different project.